AdventureX Studios in Frisco, Texas. It's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. That's right, it is Monday.
No.
It feels like Monday.
It does feel like a Monday. Why does it feel like a Monday?
Because it's early. Is it early? It's not really that early, I guess.
Yeah, but it does feel like a Monday. Like I
Feels
feel
like
like
a
I have a whole
Monday.
week ahead of me. Tomorrow's Saturday.
Well, I guess I do have a whole week ahead of me, even with it being the weekend. It doesn't seem like I ever get a weekend off. Does anybody else get a weekend off? I don't get a weekend off.
Sometimes. Usually Sundays because you got to make time for God. You got to take some time off on Sunday.
Well, I mean, I make sure, I don't know if people do this anymore. I pray when I go to bed. I pray when I get up. I've got my devotional. I pray during the day. Now, I don't have to close my eyes and bow my head, by the way. Like, I can pray while I'm driving.
Oh, honey, I pray all the time. Literally, if praying's being in church, I'm in church all the time, and you do. You have God with you wherever you go, but we pray all the time before every meal. Praying right now, yeah. Pray when I get in my car. Pray when I know my kids are going somewhere or doing something that's out of the norm. Pray and just be, make sure you're thankful for who you have in your life.
Always.
So be appreciative today and say a prayer for those in need. And we certainly, JP, there are those in need. Texas, thank goodness, seems to be largely spared. And I wonder if we could get Coach Quigley to call in, or
he's picking his wife up from the airport.
Do you have that picture, Charles? Can I send it to you of his home? Did you see how close that flood got to his home, but spared his home?
Yes.
Oh my! I mean, talk about a miracle. I was blown away when I saw that picture of his home. And Coach Quigley, obviously, dear member of the crew and just great guy. But Louisiana did not fare as well. There was some loss of life. Saw a picture of a precious young lady who was taken by the storm yesterday. So we asked the crew to put your hands together, pray for those who are in need, and pray for those who are still without electricity. I think, JP, is it St. Charles area where the destruction was so bad they don't know when they're going to have the power back on.
Lake Charles.
Lake Charles. That's okay.
Charles.
Yes. So it says Charles, our engineer. Thank you very much. There you go. From Charles, our director. But it just, a devastating storm, especially for our friends in Louisiana. So we're praying for y'all and hope your homes and rebuilding go as swiftly as they can go.
Well, and of course, Laura hit with an absolute fierce, angry attitude along the coastline and got stronger and stronger. When I talked with Coach Quigley, he said that it really wasn't too bad at Jamaica Beach. He said that the alleyways or the canal zone kind of got flooded. He was on the high ground. He had a police officer friend who had to stay back because he was essential personnel. Oh, my goodness. Police officer staying back in danger.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. No, we will definitely be talking about that. Yeah, so again, when we're running away from danger, who is it, JP, that is running towards the danger and staying around the danger? Okay,
Police and essential personnel.
But the other party wants to defund them.
Yeah.
There you go. Go
and
figure.
Coach Quigley says the town of Orange and Port Arthur got hammered.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Just glad
praying
the coach
for them.
is okay.
We're glad you and your wife are safe, Coach.
Ron Baker. Now, of course, his wife gets in from, I think, Ohio.
Right.
Today, I think, and he picks her up from the airport. But God bless those that are along the coastline, as a lot just hammered down on the poor folks here in Texas and Louisiana. All right. Don't forget you can catch us here on our social media Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 to 9 o'clock here on the JP, Kathy, and the Crew Network. You got a show in you. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Go to JP, Kathy, and the Crew 3 at gmail.com and let us know. And we'll put you on our Facebook Live network for live broadcast streaming.
Say that 10 times fast.
No. It's Monday, remember? No, not really. It's Friday.
In case you're watching this, you're like, they have lost their mind. We know it's not Monday. We're just saying it kind of feels like a Monday.
Michelle, where's my coffee? You got football and coffee up there. Where's my coffee, Michelle? As you comment, you can join the crew. We'd love to have you join us, and we put your comments on the big screen up there.
I think this is so
and
awesome.
we chat with you.
I love this.
Yeah. Good morning, Jim Partridge.
Dad, hi. My dad and I were texting last night, of course, talking all about the convention, which, by the way, we are going to have a convention update from an actual delegate here from Van Taylor's Congressional District, District 3. Super excited that Desiree Brown, who is also the former Collin County YR president and the secretary of the Young Republican National Federation, she'll be with us 8:03. Is that right?
No. Yeah, 8:03.
8:03.
I was thinking
okay.
7:03 for some reason. That's okay.
That's already passed. So we don't know the time or
I'm
the
over
day.
here with the mouse on my right hand, thinking it's going to move my left computer screen.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm over here doing this.
Oh,
Want to know why it's not
I
over
didn't
here.
even notice. Okay, hello. I've only been here 30 minutes, and look at this. You've got two computers up and going. Which one's the one that can do pictures on the screen?
This one.
Okay.
That's why I'm getting ready to prompt this one up. Because
Okay.
before we jump into a bunch of fun stuff, you know, if we're going to talk
Scoop.
about before we jump into a bunch of stuff this morning, I want to start our day off with this right here. I've watched this and cannot tell you how much I enjoy this, and I want to know what your opinion is, and I want to know what you think or how it makes you feel, or I want to know what it generates, what feeling it generates from you, because
Feelings.
and I'm going to talk about it because I want to talk about what the news is saying about Donald J. Trump's speech from last night, and I'm just blown away that anybody can say any of the things that they said. Chuck, if you could go ahead and put this on the full small
I can't wait
screen.
for this.
And here we go. And Chuck, I'm hoping my sound will work on this. It says I'm up.
Oh, I don't think it will.
Oh, man.
So we can't get the sound to go on there. Well, I'm going
It's a great image.
Here, wait.
we're going to give Chuck a second. So this, while Chuck is doing that, we're going to pause this. And I guess I'll give you the heads up on where I'm going with this.
Yes.
The DNC truly did come off with doom and gloom.
Oh.
That in our current state, the United States of America is just doomed and gloomed, and everybody's going to die. And
Like there was no hope at all.
yeah, I mean, we need Joe Biden,
He's the only ally of the light.
Mr. 48 years of federal government.
Yeah, 47 years, so we need 48.
Oh, 47. Yeah, that's right. We
Well,
need 48.
yeah, really, like it makes a difference at that point. You know, once you get a couple of 3-4 decades in and you haven't done anything. Anyway, well, you know, and it's interesting, Donald Trump Jr., while you're queuing that up, Donald Trump Jr. last night at one of the after interviews said, and this was true, he said it was the longest, most depressing Zoom call. I think he said that. Excuse me if I'm quoting him. I'm misquoting him, but he said something like it was the longest
Try to play so I can
Zoom
test the sound real quick.
infomercial or
All
something.
right, here we go. We're going to play this and see. We're going to test
that
it.
informs the greatness
Look
of
at Chuck. You're amazing. Do what, Chuck?
Stop it. And
Oh, stop it.
Get you on the screen.
Here we go.
Oh.
So I want you to tell me. So let me finish this now, because since I had to start it off the beginning and give you the heads up early
Right.
on. So to me, I watch the DNC as an American, not a Republican, and I go, where's my hope? Where is my? I mean, all of the speakers. I mean, not all of them, but the main ones: Obama's, Clinton's. Bill Clinton trying to give advice to Donald J. Trump. I'm like, you got to be.
Like, dude, really?
You got to
I know.
be giving me. I'm like, are you serious? I wanted to just shake my head.
Yeah, I
And,
don't think that's exactly what
wow.
you said, but okay.
Joe Biden. Where was the message of hope and prosperity and ingenuity? And
Where was patriotism, JP?
and God's out of the
Seriously.
Pledge of
Oh,
Allegiance.
yeah,
and,
I mean-
and we're going to have that going on today too. We're going to be doing some of that business.
yes.
And so here's the RNC.
Right.
This is the commercial opening up, okay, for the outlining of President Donald Trump's vision for his second term. What does this inspire from you? And it may inspire hate. It may inspire dismal approach. You tell me. Go on our page and message us. But here we go. Chuck, you ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Someone once said that America is great because it is good, and that if America ceases to be good, it will no longer be great. It is the goodness in Americans that informs the greatness of America.
Can you tell the voice, Kathy? John Voight, my friend, John Voight.
The freedom to do what is right and good for yourself,
Goosebumps.
your family. To reap the blessings of hard work, to accomplish dreams, to live securely, to help others. Not by force of government, but by goodness of heart, where rights are not granted by government or claimed by identities, but are unalienable as members of the human race. Today, America's greatness is challenged by those with extreme notions. Defunding law enforcement as lawlessness abounds. Hateful rhetoric, telling you what to wear and when you can work, limiting free speech and freedom of worship. Old ideas of socialism repackaged in redefined words. Let us restore the values that made America great.
We will make America strong again.
Return to the higher standard.
We will make America proud again.
A land of freedom of speech, of worship.
We will make America safe again.
A land of security and prosperity.
And we will make America great again.
A land of greatness.
I mean, there you go. What is that? I want you to type up there on your screens. I want to know what your thoughts are. You know, or we have a phone number, right, Chuck? We can throw that phone number up on the screen. Feel free to call us.
Yeah.
Give us your if you're not generating goosebump after goosebump.
Oh, you see me wiping back tears.
Yeah. I mean, after goosebump.
And it, you know, and JP, it was the whole entire week. Last week, there were times, you know, because I wanted to stay up so I could report accurately of my thoughts and emotions and ideas of what I thought of the convention last week. There were times when I would tell my husband, hey, if I start to fall asleep, wake me up. Or I was screaming at the TV going, you're kidding me. If you hate this country so much, why are you here? And why are you wanting leadership positions? And why are you holding leadership positions? And then the difference between last week and this week's convention. And again, JP, notice I'm not saying Democrat or Republican. The difference between, if you're somebody and you don't know, nobody said anything about Republicans or Democrats, either convention. The difference between the two conventions and the feelings they evoked in Americans, it was absolutely jarring.
Oh, goodness
it was
gracious.
Jarring.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there is no comparison to either one of the conventions. The RNC was so different. The messaging so different. Watching that ad, John Voight as he narrates that advertisement coming in, is a message of hope. It's a message of let's be proud of America.
Yes.
And when I listen to Joe Biden,
Yes.
I'm told I should be ashamed of America.
Yes.
You know, I've got another speech that another part of a speech that is prompted, and that is up. And I listened to it this morning, and I couldn't believe that we couldn't deliver a message of hope and love, and the fact that we can be proud of America. And all, why are we not always proud of America? Why are we the worst country in the world all of a sudden?
Well, and here's the thing: if you don't like it, and we were in our group text between Charles and Corley and JP and myself last night. You know, I put down. I said I am cheering and crying all at the same time. I love this country. I love our president. And then afterwards, they show what was going on outside of St. John's Church in Washington, D.C. And these horrific individuals were threatening to burn the church down again last night.
Yep.
And we're talking, and they all looked like, I don't know, did you tune in when I told you about that, JP? They looked like they were angry kids that didn't get their way. They were trying to film everything and film themselves, and they were getting in the police officers and the security guards' faces, and I can't even imagine what they were saying. And I thought, my goodness, if somebody even just caught the last few minutes, or heck, if you just caught the fireworks show last night, and then you go and pan over to what was happening outside of a church in our country where our founding fathers fought for our right to be able to worship at the church of our choice, and thank goodness they did. You had these horrific, and I would say animals, but I don't want to dog animals. I love animals too much. They just looked like just wild, angry,
mangy people.
Yeah, I don't even know. No offense to mangy people. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know.
I think mangy people.
I'm struggling. Is that going to be okay? I think so. Okay, I think we'll go. We're going to go with
Let's
JP's.
check with the censors, please, and the crowd goes wild. Thank you, crowd. We have such a beautiful audience today.
We love our studio audience.
Love the studio audience.
Well, and I thought, my goodness. And you and I were sending the same thing back and forth almost at the same time. You don't like America? Get out. Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out of my country, because I love this country, doggone it. And if you don't, go to another country and see if you can act the fool over there and scream in a police officer's face and still be alive the next day.
Right. Well, yeah, they'll shoot you on the spot. They'll kill you on the spot. Well, my bottom line was that how is it that we have such stark, contrasting speeches at the different conventions, and how can America go back and watch that and say that they're not a Republican? I mean, if you're not a Republican and you truly are a leftist Democrat at this point, based on just the messaging, then I'm sad for you. I'm sad that you believe that this country that has given so much back. Yeah, we're not perfect. Nobody said we're perfect. We're not perfect.
Have you ever heard President Trump or any president for that? Has anybody ever gone on the record as saying the country is entirely, everything works 110% the way it should and we're perfect? Have you ever, and JP, you and I have been in politics each for over 3 decades ourselves, so over 60 years combined. In that time, have you heard anyone ever say that?
No.
That's a really good point. Nobody's ever claimed that there aren't problems, there aren't issues.
That's why I go to church.
To pray for...
Because I'm not perfect.
Exactly.
I go to, I mean,
and thank goodness we don't have to be.
If I cut my arm, I go to the hospital.
Right.
So I go to the church because I'm not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, a very good point. Yeah.
Bottom line is, as I go back to what I was saying, it comes down to a fact that if you are a leftist, liberal, Republican, or Democrat, then based on those two speeches, you are disappointed in our country. You are ashamed of our country. You are ashamed of who we are as Americans and how we have not progressed as a society towards being a part of a one unified America. And I just can't buy that. I can't breathe that. I've got to believe that Americans still love Americans. And when I watch what goes on in these protests,
and you can't even call them protests, JP.
No.
They're riots. They're angry riots that usually lead to violence.
Yeah, I mean,
and destruction.
And we're going to mention this. Martin Luther King Jr. protested. Even Malcolm X protested. It's amazing. The other day, Malcolm X was being quoted. And I thought, if Malcolm X knew you were quoting him, this was a very leftist socialist. Malcolm
was this at
X,
the convention last week?
May have
Maybe,
been.
okay.
Would be turning over in his grave. Because that
like
wasn't...
would be like, no, that wasn't my message.
Yeah, that wasn't Malcolm X's message. And so when you look at things, and again, today celebrates 60 years, by the way, of MLK's famous speech.
I have a dream.
Yeah. And so...
maybe, I wonder, can we play that
Oh, I'm
today?
going to.
That'd be great.
I'm gearing all that up.
Thank you.
So today, Kathy, I need you to talk a little more so that I can gear stuff up. So when
That's
you see
not
me,
a problem.
So when you
Just
see
do
me,
this.
when you see me do this, I need you to keep chatting for just a moment.
That's going to be tough, and the crew knows me. That'll be tough. I need them to chime in. Well, what did you see on the comments what Coach Quigley wrote about the question that that somebody he knows was saying to post to somebody who's supporting Biden. Can you tell me why you are supporting Joe Biden without mentioning President Trump? Right. I think that is a brilliant question. I am going to steal that and use it. Their whole thing last week, and I call it low-hanging fruit. You know, of course, whoever the party who's not in control of the White House, of course, they're going to take a swing at the president of the party that is in the White House. It is what it is. That's just the way it goes at these conventions. But that's all they had to say was, we hate President Trump. President Trump's bad. I don't get it. I don't either. Then somebody tell me in year number 48, what the heck can anybody articulate what Joe Biden's plan is? And you know what are the things they were complaining about last night, JP? This is one of the only complaints I heard because, of course, I was just trying to still keep looking and reading and watching happy stuff after the speech. That his speech was too long. You know what's interesting? It was 70 minutes. So yes, that is a long speech. I thought the substance, first of all, he's the only president that I know of that has kept all of his campaign promises. Yeah. Of course, the left blasts him for that. So he's done a lot of stuff. So he had a lot of stuff to report on. Well, you know, when you were JP, your terms were 4 years. When you went and did your reelection get-togethers, didn't you talk about what you did during that 4 years while you were in office?
And what I'm getting ready to do.
Which is exactly what thank you very much. That's exactly what the president did. And then he just talked about American exceptionalism and American greatness and American freedom and the American spirit. And I thought, you know, it was interesting when my husband and I, they said, well, the speech was 70 minutes. And we looked at each other and I was like, I didn't even realize it was an hour. I literally did not look at the clock once. So I thought it was phenomenal.
Well, and here's the thing, right? So first of all, Fred, no, Fred, it's packed in here. We have so many people. Thank you, audience, for letting Fred know you're here.
Oh, shoot. I just told him yes on the feed. I just said, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Well, so there you go.
I mean, no, what JP said.
So there you go. Cleo goes on to add, Malcolm, that's what it was what LeBron James had said. Thank you, Cleo. Malcolm X would roll over in his grave to hear LeBron James quote him. Malcolm X was totally against what he called the dangerous leftist liberal who was like and I can't read that off of my screen, was like a fox, sly and destroying lives by the pretense of helping. And that's absolutely true, Cleo. And thank you for reminding me that's because I'd forgotten it was LeBron James that keyed that with me.
Oh, thank you, Cleo. Yeah, and you know what? Do I ever need to hear from LeBron James again? He's one of those that I want to say, you know what? Get out. You don't like it over here? Okay, I get it. No. Goodbye.
Don't need to hear from him anymore.
Goodbye.
So my bottom line is this: is that if you're going to go off of just the RNC and the DNC conventions, DNC is doom and gloom. It is delivering disaster. That if you don't elect them, this is always a party of desperation, in disregarding whatever party. Well, so what I mean by a party of desperation is when you tell everybody that if they don't elect you, then everything is going to end as we know it, then that is the party of desperation, not the party of hope. You want to deliver a message that says, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to fix this, and we're going to fix that, because we're Americans, and we have ingenuity, and we have integrity, and we have a hard work ethic, and that's how we're going to make things better. Not, well, if we elect Donald Trump, then by golly, the United States is going to end as we know it. Again, that is a party of desperation. And I can't vote for a party of desperation.
That was the one I needed to do.
Yeah, so I would figure, I was like, wait, that's okay.
That was like I was having like I had a dream. That was my MLK Jr. I had a dream.
I have a dream speech.
I have a dream speech.
And JP, they're holding us hostage. They're holding us, the Democrats, because basically, and these rioters have been quoted as saying, if Donald Trump gets reelected, the violence in the streets gets worse. This does not stop. So basically, you're holding the American people hostage. You're holding these businesses hostage. You're holding these police officers hostage by threatening to continue the violence or make it worse. if President Trump is reelected. So why do you don't threaten me? Don't insult my intelligence. And don't threaten my physical well-being or the physical well-being of my fellow Americans or of business owners.
Right. Well, and I'm trying to find at this point, I wanted to get Donald J. Trump's response to
it's
Seattle and Portland last night.
Oh yeah, it's people having those positive person experiences. It's people helping people.
Yes.
At the bottom, everybody helping each other, trying to help each other, help those that are down.
A hand,
and being positive,
up, not a hand out.
Right.
A hand up, not a hand out.
Right.
And
right.
You're so right,
and
Charles.
It's not going to come from the top down.
No.
Top down just helps to support what we're doing down here.
Right. The government doesn't. Americans can take care of each other, and we know how to best do that. Again, give me back some of those tax dollars and let me put it towards a church or a charity or a nonprofit of my choice that helps whatever my cause is. Let me decide what to do with that money versus the government, who, once you're in that welfare system, it's designed to keep you down. Did y'all hear and I know we're getting ready to have Desiree Brown on. Did y'all hear the ladies the two African-American women from who lived in a New York project building that were talking about it? And I took a screenshot of the TV. I had my husband pause the TV. I took a screenshot. Let me pull up this quote. And they were so angry. This one lady said, I'm black. I am a lifelong Democrat. She said, and here's why I'm supporting Trump. And the quote that came up on the screen was, and she mentioned this, she said, because the Democrats put illegal immigrants before black Americans. So these ladies were talking so eloquently about how people are waiting 10 years to get into these buildings where they can have affordable living, and they said somebody comes in illegally and they're in line ahead of me. So they've realized what we've talked about for a long time.
Well, they're going to get health care as well. So
but the black legal Americans aren't. Yeah,
that's correct. Well, and it goes much deeper than that. I mean, and President Trump talked about this last night as well. But I want to get back to Seattle and Portland. His comments last night, can't find his remarks just quickly enough to put them up there. But his remarks were, "We're ready. We're standing by. When the mayors and the governors have had enough of hurting their own people, then let us know. And we will come in and we will help this. We will help this, but we can't go in. We can't go in and take care of this." And we're talking about a couple of hundred people holding cities hostage at this point.
Yes.
And it's absolutely ridiculous. The whole way that it all's coming down is ridiculous. And so here's where we go with all of that. It is time to finally put an end to the socialist movement in this country. It is finally time to put an end to the threatening, if you don't follow my way, AOCs of the world and Ilhan Omars of the world, and we will ruin your political career. We will ruin your life if you don't do what we do, and then drop a couple F-bombs on them to begin as well.
Oh, yeah, because that's always classy. All that trash talk that they have out there.
Right. So we don't need people in this world, and I'm not going to have anybody around me that's going to threaten other people, threaten them with their livelihood, threaten them with their politics, and say we're going to ruin you in your life. I'm not going to let them drop F-bombs on me. This is not going to happen around me because I'm not going to allow it. And in America, we can still do that. We can still say, I'm not going to allow this. Last night, Senator Paul Rand tried to leave the White House.
Yes, did you hear that?
Well, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, you're about to report about it. So yes, you are aware of this.
I'm aware of it. And was attacked by a thug mob out in front of the White House.
What is going on?
And if it wasn't for the police, if it wasn't for the military personnel that were on site,
thank the good Lord,
Senator Paul Rand could very well be hospitalized in intensive care because of this flash mobbing, thuggish.
Yes.
This is not America. And I don't know if we've had European insurgents. I don't know if we've had Asian insurgents. I don't know what's happened where we think that we want to be on the news every night.
No,
with riots out in front of our gates.
You know what's interesting? The majority of the people I see at these riots, I'm going to say this, are white people.
Oh,
young,
gosh, yes.
white
yes,
kids.
yes.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I look at these people and I'm like, tell me the suffering you've done, kid, with your iPhone that's like the iPhone 25.
Right.
You know, I was sitting there with, a pair of jean shorts on that probably cost $150. Give me a break.
Yeah.
They're running to their fancy cars that their parents pay for. You're kidding me. What do you have to complain about?
Yeah, well, evidently they have a lot to complain about. But here's my thing, and this is where I'm going with this. AOC, along with her nonprofit organization and another organization that funnels money into her nonprofit to support candidates for Congress. And it's not just candidates in Republican districts running in the Democratic primary. It's running Democrats against Democrats. Democrats who are, they're liberal, but they're not socialist leftists, losing office because they're coming in and running 44-year-old progressives, super progressives, that will then carry the day.
Socialists, and they're announced socialists. Wait, somebody said, did you say Paul Ryan? I think you meant Rand Paul.
Rand Paul, okay, I'm sorry, Rand
that's
Paul.
Okay, yeah.
Rand Paul. Well, I was trying to riot
I knew
myself.
who you were talking about.
Well, I was rioting within myself.
Sorry, was it ran or run?
Well, he was last night, God bless him.
Yeah, he
was
running last night.
I mean, that's horrible. And, you go back to, and I know Desiree's getting ready to come on, but remember when Ted Cruz and his wife were accosted in that restaurant? And then Sarah Huckabee Sanders, back when she was press secretary, again, that's not our country. If you don't like somebody's beliefs, then you have a healthy debate. And then you go out and you run and you hope you put on a better campaign than they do.
Well, and again,
this is not the way of our country.
I got to remember what I was saying. You're very excited today.
Yeah, really. Well, I know.
I like how you're excited, but you got to let me finish the thought.
And you know what's crazy? I
don't
even feel well today, but I'm pumped up.
Well, you are. You're excited today. So I'm trying to think. We'll get her in. Put her on the screen.
What was JP saying before?
But I got to get back to what I was saying because it was really, really important. And I can't remember what I was saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey.
It was really, really good.
Usually when I sit down, it pops back up into my head.
Is that what it is?
When you get older, that happens sometimes.
Well, let's go ahead and welcome Desiree Brown to JP, Kathy, and the crew. Good morning, Desiree.
Hello, how are y'all?
Man,
Hey.
well, Kathy's super excited, and I'm forgetting.
Well, that's normal, though, isn't it?
Well, it's out of control, and she's cutting me off, and I'm forgetting where I'm at. And I'm like, I got to remember where I was at because it was good.
Oh.
So, Desiree, boy, tell us about the national convention. You're supposed to be there, partying, living like a rock star.
I was supposed to be partying like a Republican, and I'm still in Dallas partying like a Republican.
Right.
So I was selected as one of the delegates from Congressional District 3, which is Van Taylor's district, and had already booked a hotel in Jacksonville, was booked my flight. I was actually a delegate, but two other young Republicans from Collin County were selected as alternates, and then our state Texas Young Republican chair was selected as an at-large delegate or an at-large alternate. So we had all already made all of our plans of how we were getting there, who was sharing rooms with who, and then Trump comes on the news and says, "I'm canceling it." And I'm pretty sure I actually texted Kathy, and I was just heartbroken. And it's a hard pill to swallow. But the flip side is, I thought what the RNC did was absolutely amazing. I thought the way that they did their quote unquote virtual program actually made it so much better, probably than if we had been in person, just because more people were able to tune in or were likely to tune in. And you saw, I would say probably half of the people that spoke over the 4-night period were not politicians, were not famous people. A lot of them were everyday people like you and me that, were talking about what's important to them, what Donald Trump and his administration had done for them. And I think that was really a powerful message that honestly, I'm not sure if it would have come out the same way if we had done it in person like traditionally is done.
I think that's a good point.
Oh, absolutely. So, Desiree, let me ask you this question. Because I asked this to the crew, and they went on and they answered the question. Do me a favor. Contrast for me the DNC and the RNC's conventions.
So I did watch the DNC. It was painful. The biggest thing that, and this has been said, and you guys were talking about it just a minute ago, is no one could go on and talk about what Joe Biden has done, what Joe Biden would do. It was all, this is why Trump is bad. This is how Trump has hurt you, has become a racist, has killed the little guy, all of this stuff. So there's nothing really substantive about what is Joe Biden going to do for me. And from my standpoint, again, there's being broadcast online and on TV and everything. I think that was a huge miss for them because they had the opportunity to not touch someone like me. I'm a hardcore Republican. I'm voting for Trump no matter what, right?
Right.
But my next door neighbor who is not involved in politics, who may have no idea really what is the difference between Trump and Biden? What is one man going to do for me versus the other? And the fact that they could not even really put together their platform in a written form or in a verbal form rather, I think really hurt them. The other thing too is, I said this on the first night, I turned on immediately, saw Eva Longoria, and my first thought was, wow, it's just like a Feed the Children telethon. Can we get any more
that's
depressive?
a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I think there is some strategy probably in play with the RNC of picking to go second. I don't know if that was intentional, but I think it worked out in their favor because I was really hopeful, and I saw this, that everything that the RNC put out for the last 4 days was an extremely positive message. They didn't really go negative. I mean, Trump talked about the negative downsides of Biden. Mike Pence did as well, which you would expect. But everything else was so positive that, even though I was not there in person, I was sitting here on my couch, I just had so much pride and just, could not really imagine how someone, again, kind of back to someone like my neighbor, someone who's not involved in politics every day, how someone can't tune into that and just say, wow, this man and this administration have my back. They have our country's back, and the other side just doesn't like them. Like, that's all we got out of the Democrats was they don't like Trump, and I'm pretty sure we already knew that.
So, Desiree, let me interrupt you for just a moment, though. If you had no political affiliation, which, by the way, I look at your background and your T-shirt, and you absolutely don't.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell where you stand.
Right.
And didn't you have a picture last night that you posted of a fancy champagne glass that said Trump women or women for Trump, and then a bottle of Trump champagne?
Yeah.
I love that.
The Trump winery, I think they're out of Virginia. They have a lovely champagne, and my mother and I have been saving that up for this week. The hope was to have it last weekend because I would be gone this week, but obviously that didn't work out. And yes, I have no political affiliation whatsoever. I don't know why you would think that I am a pro-Trump supporter. These things behind me, so they're just there.
Did you almost snort some coffee,
I almost
Kathy?
snorted.
Yeah, Kathy snorts when she gets way cool
He
excited.
set me up for this because I know he's got a great question. I know where you're going with your party affiliation question. And when Desiree goes, I have no affiliation. I'm sorry. Coffee almost came up my nose.
So Desiree, again, let's go back to you have no party affiliation at all. You watch the DNC's message. You watch the RNC's message. I mean, do you stay in this country or do you leave this country?
So I've obviously been doing a couple of interviews this week, and a reporter yesterday was talking to me. She was from the Northeast. We were talking more about how Texas was, impacted by all of this. And one of the things she asked me, which I thought was a very interesting question, was she was like, as a Republican or as just, someone that doesn't maybe necessarily know that much about the Democrat platform, do you think that Bernie Sanders would have been a stronger opponent? And I said yes, because I think if you're tuning in as someone that doesn't get politics, and a lot of people don't, it's just not something that people think about. If you were tuning into what Joe Biden and all of these celebrities and rock stars and whatever were saying last week, the message was just all over the place. It was not, you have a continuum of liberalism, and he was over here sometimes, it was over here sometimes, it was over here, and there was no consistent message. And I think that that's probably part of where, not that I like Bernie Sanders' ideas, but have respect for him as a person, because he's very consistent. He's like Trump. He's very consistent. He was consistent from 4 years ago, basically. And I think that would have actually given them a better message on the Democrat side, because just like we saw with the RNC, they had a very straightforward message for each night. It flowed very smoothly. You could tell how it was one speaker was leading into the other. And with the Democrats, I didn't watch all, pre-show and all of that. I watched what was basically broadcast about 7, 8 o'clock each night through the end. They just weren't consistent. I mean, they were consistent in bashing Trump, but they weren't consistent in their message. And I think that really adds a lot of confusion for people that aren't involved in politics, because they don't really understand what the candidates for. And a lot of people don't like Trump. I don't personally understand that, but I think that that's where if somebody's on that boat of I don't like Trump, they're going to vote for Biden regardless.
Right.
If they're just a stay-at-home mom, soccer dad, just someone that's out trying to live their life and do the best they can, they didn't get that out of the DNC last week, and I hope they got that out of the RNC this week, because I think it was very clear that Trump's not in this for him. He's in it for us. And the pure patriotism of all of the people that spoke, and the wide range of backgrounds, and again, like I said, you weren't hearing a lot from politicians. You were hearing from business owners. You were hearing from, people that had positive impacts from things like the right to try, just various things like that you don't hear the Democrats talk about at all.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Well, one of the things, Desiree, what I hear what you're saying is that you're taking lemons and you're making lemonade. And then you're going to mix a little Texas tea with it, so you got a good Arnold Palmer. That's what I hear you say. In other words, we couldn't go to the RNC.
Or you're going to mix some margarita mix with it.
Well, no, I'm trying to keep it morning showish, not evening showish.
Since when?
Add a little tequila.
It's called a tequila sunrise.
Yeah.
Is that? Well, thank you, Desiree. You're not helping her, Desiree. You are encouraging the bad behavior,
I
Desiree.
see you have orange juice there, John.
There's no orange juice in vodka. Uh-oh.
Yeah, what's in that?
Drinking early. So, anyways, back to what I was getting at. What I mean by that, Desiree, is okay. So President Trump comes in, he cancels basically the convention for everybody, and we have to limit it down. Which when you look at it in the way that we've handled it, we were much more responsible than the Democratic side of the world.
That's actually a really good way to put it. We were more responsible.
Yeah, much more responsible.
Yeah.
I felt like I was a Coors Light commercial. Drink responsibly. We did.
Yep.
Democrats were doing DWI loop-de-loops with Ted Kennedy. Oh, did I say that? Chappaquiddick. What? What? So,
chapstick?
yeah,
No,
that's a little
my
chapstick,
goodness.
please. Yeah. So, but what I'm getting at is that, but yet at the same token, you're able to get more out of it by doing what we have done with what the RNC did than just being sour about it, which is what Democrats seem to be about everything. And so I want to thank you for not being soured on the process, recognizing that, hey, man, what a responsible approach we've taken. Yeah, it stinks. Wish I'd have been there, got elected. It was hard. You had my support. You know that. I love you.
Yeah, I mean, you worked for 4 years to have this opportunity, and look at you today. And I know we're not the only show you've been on. You've been on a number of TV shows and broadcasts. and you've presented yourself of course, I mean, not like you wouldn't, in a professional, positive, upbeat manner. And that's huge. And again, you're saying, and I like this because normally these political conventions, they're designed for the party's base, the hardcore grassroots of each party. So what you were saying about the Democrats, heck, they had Republicans on that were touting Biden. And I'm like, is that going to resonate with the AOC groupies and the Bernie Sanders groupies? I don't think so. And I feel like our message this week reached out to everybody. And I think you're right, Desiree. I think this, God always has a plan. I think the fact is people wouldn't have tuned in for what we normally see on the TV, which is all the delegates screaming and yelling, the balloon drop. I think viewership, and I'll be anxious to see, was probably up. And I think more people watched it. I think you're right about that. I like your approach to that.
The big thing too, and obviously I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. They always talk about how the millennials and the young kids just love the Democrats, and they tried to do that by putting, famous people and rock stars and all that stuff on. But the big thing that I'm really proud of is, like I mentioned earlier, I'm one of several Collin County Young Republicans that were going to go in some fashion. But when you looked at the lineup of the speakers over the 4 nights, we had a lot of representation from the young Republican side, right?
Yes.
You had people like Madison, the man that's
Madison Crawley. Oh,
yes,
loved his speech.
A lot, and just all of those people that are, young Republicans, generally we say under 40 years old, we had a lot of time on the RNC. We had a lot of prominent people running for office, but also we had just a lot of everyday people that, the young Republicans really came out in force to kind of counter subtly, not blatantly saying it, but, hey, we're here too. We are not just the party of old white men. We are here to make a difference, because what Donald Trump has done for people my age, I'm 36 years old, and I've been positively impacted by his tax cuts. I've been positively impacted by how he has turned the economy around. I know a lot of people always say that, he's trying to kill Obamacare and all this stuff. Most people that were my age couldn't afford Obamacare.
Right.
So what difference did it make to us if he killed it? Because that gave us an opportunity to get something better.
Right.
And so I think that was really important for us as an organization this week to see that we were very well represented. And obviously, the youngest Republican, I guess you could say, was the Nicholas Sandman, getting to have his time to speak.
High School, yep.
And then they tried to rake him over the coals all over again the next day.
Yeah, but he brought up, and I think he's still 18 years old, right? He brought up the cancel culture, and to me, that was actually something that put me on Trump's side 4 or 5 years ago. Was when all this politically correct stuff started to happen, and you couldn't just say what you wanted to say. You couldn't wear a white t-shirt might be, indicative of white supremacy, or, just various things like that. And I think that when you see that you have an 18-year-old kid who, yes, has been through the ringer, and I do not envy that part of what he has had to be gone through. But when you see him be able to stand up and probably have never spoken in front of a camera to millions of people, and be able to very succinctly say, hey, they're trying to cancel us out. They're trying to make it to where you can't wear a Trump shirt. I mean, I am part of that group, right? I mean, if I go to the grocery store later, I'm probably not going to wear the shirt because I just don't want to have any problems from people. And that's what's sad about how differing you see the Democrats and the Republicans or conservatives and liberals. Because obviously I'm not saying that all liberals and all Democrats are like that. I have some good friends that are Democrats, and I get along with them great, right? But when people are fearful of going out, when, like y'all were mentioning, Rand Paul, I saw that interview this morning when I was getting ready, he should be able to walk 2 blocks to his hotel room.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
sounds like they're bullying.
Oh, it's beyond bullying. I mean, they're
Yes.
thugs.
ridiculous.
This is a thug mob mentality.
Yes.
Is
yes,
what this
you're
is.
so right.
Well, Desiree, I cannot thank you enough for joining us
Oh,
this
JP,
morning and being pretty.
I do want to interrupt. Oh, she always looks pretty and patriotic. Real quick, can you give us a plug for y'all? Have got a Texas Young Republican Federation convention coming up in the Rockwall area, and people are welcome next week. Y'all have got who are y'all speakers?
So our gala is open to anyone. You do not have to be a young Republican. We have Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. We have Trumponomics author and Trump economic advisor Stephen Moore, and local Trump campaign initiative strategy, whatever you want to call it, director, I guess, Keenan Williams. They will be our gala speakers.
Oh, love him.
And tickets for the gala are $50. That includes meal, drinks, 3 wonderful speakers, and the one and only Kathy Ward will be there to hand off. So last year, Kathy won our inaugural Texas Young Republican Alumni of the Year award. So she will be there in person to hand that off to this year's winner.
Thank you, Desiree.
And so if you guys want tickets, you can email me. My email address is desiree.brown@yrnf.com, and I will get y'all the information. But we'd love to have folks from the community there. It'll be right there at the Hilton on the lake in Rockwall, Saturday, September 5th at 6 o'clock.
Awesome.
Very cool. Desiree, again, thank you so much for joining us and being part of JP, Kathy, and the crew, and have a wonderful convention.
Thank you, guys.
We
have
love
a good
you,
Friday.
Desiree.
All right, happy Friday. So, and I want to continue the convention conversation, and I now want to turn over
Facebook has blown up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to turn over to what Sheriff Clark said. And so you're going to go to my screen here in just a second, Charles, and put this up there. I'm going to play this video from YouTube in regards to how we're responding to the Blake shooting in Wisconsin. And when you watch the video, you watch that Blake is walking away from the police officers. They're giving him a directive. He leans into his car. Nobody knows if he's going for a gun. Right now, things are in such bad array because of
you
what
kind
we
of have to assume the worst, don't you?
Well, I mean, based on what's going on. I mean,
you know, and I know Clint was on our feed earlier, and he's always talked to us about keeping yourself safe. It's almost like you have to assume you're going to get a brick bashed through your head.
Yeah, which is
walking down the streets, which is really a scary way to live.
Very scary. So here's what Sheriff Clark had to say at the RNC convention. Charles, let me know when you're ready. Are you ready for me? All right.
I'd like to make something very clear. Blue lives matter in America.
Now, this is the Cleveland Convention, and then I'm going to fast forward to his comments in today's
I stand
era.
before you tonight with a heavy heart as the law enforcement community prepares to bury 3 of Baton Rouge, Louisiana's finest. But there is some good news out of Baltimore, Maryland, as Lieutenant Brian Rice was acquitted on all charges in the malicious prosecution of activist State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby.
So what you just saw was what happened in Cleveland.
Right.
So then the Blake shooting happens now.
Right.
And Clark comes out against the hate towards peace officers and says, we don't need to retrain our police officers. We need to have parents properly train their children. When you tell somebody, stop, put your hands up, you stop and put your hands up. You don't
You're right.
continually walk away from a police officer who's giving you a directive.
Or flip them off
Right.
or scream something at them.
Right.
I mean, would your literally, and I know the answer to this, Lori Payton back in the day, if it would have
We
gone
used Mom.
down,
Here we go.
well, this is seriously, if your mom would have gotten a call from a police officer saying your son showed disrespect, he's at the station, come pick him up, I think she might have said, hey, are there some dishes he can wash, and I'll pick him up in about a week.
Yeah.
And then when you got home, you would have gotten the tongue lashing of your life. I mean, and my dad and I crack up about this still. To this day, when, probably the reason I'm going deaf, I've listened to music so loudly all my life. So if I've got loud music on and a police officer pulls up beside me, it's just a weird reaction. I turn the radio down. Like it's a thing, it's a respect thing kind of a deal. It's like kids don't have that respect. They don't have, and this started, if people would have watched this started a long time ago. This is back even when I taught in the 90s. Kids having no respect. First of all, they didn't have respect for their parents. Then it moved to the school. They didn't have respect for the teachers. Now it's moved to that next level of authority. They don't have respect for first responders and police officers. So again, have the people who are in these professions changed? Or is it the fact that you've got, and like I said, the majority of the and I'm going to call them kids, who I saw out in that mob last night wanting to burn St. John's Church down, were kids.
Right.
I'm like, have you even paid one of your bills on your own?
Right.
Ever?
No. So I want to go to this.
Hi, I'm Brad Callen, and in this video, I want to show you how
Sorry about that, Chuck. I can't help it. They put ads on YouTube.
Sorry.
So this is from 2016. I want you to hear, well, I think, did it bring up the right? Do what now?
I'm sorry, I muted the sound, so
okay.
Do you want to rewind to where you were?
Well, I want to make sure that it brought up the right video. Because what it is it's a 2016 YouTube video.
While you're pulling that up, one of the members of the crew sent me this. Here's the question. If you're the average Joe or Jane and you've got to go to a party, which invitation do you want to get? An invitation from the Sad Sack Dems or an invitation to awesomeness from Donald Trump? That kind of puts it into a nutshell really well. Again, that's why people were attracted to President Reagan. JP, and you and I have talked about this before, even before President Trump came on the scene, we've had this conversation. He was an optimist. You could tell he loved our country and he loved people. There's just something about being around a person who loves people, and you can tell. And then if you're going to be the American president, boy, you better love the bejeebers out of this country.
Oh, gosh, yes. So let me play this,
Okay.
Kathy. So this is 2016, all right? Charles, are we ready?
The video too, or
yes, the video too, please. Because I've got it geared up right where I want it now. I kind of like this, Chuck. I don't know if you notice I've been playing with this. I think this is way cool. Here we go.
The Justice Department will now start punishing sanctuary cities for harboring illegal criminal immigrants. Let's bring in Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. This is a big change. Why do you think they made it?
Don't fall for this. Look, these people are slippery. Everybody in the Obama administration is. The president recently vetoed a bill that would have defunded sanctuary cities. Now all of a sudden they're going to turn around and they're going to go after these cities. How is he going to do it? Congress needs to pass a law to defund it, and that's the way to go at this. Who's he going to prosecute? I don't get this at all. This is nothing more than a sleight of hand.
All right. Well, we'll see if they follow through on the promise. Something obviously needs to be done. Especially after what happened in San Francisco. Loretta Lynch has been commenting on Gitmo. She says that the president can't enact his Gitmo plan on his own. I want you to listen to this.
Would you agree that the federal government is prohibited from establishing such facilities and from transferring Guantanamo detainees into the United States or its territories?
Certainly, that is the state of the law most recently passed.
So do you think the president can get around this?
He's done this before. He did it with delaying the Obamacare mandate. He did it with his executive order on gun control. He's done it in other areas as well. The only time that Barack Obama says the word can't is when he looks at Congress and says they can't stop me. Otherwise, that word does not exist. He will find some way to wiggle around this. We will wake up some morning and find out that these detainees have been slipped into the United States and into some a federal prison. That would be catastrophic, because you're going to get some terrorist sympathizer group that's going to go to federal court and say, now that these people are on U.S. soil, they have constitutional rights, which they don't, but you'll find some activist judge that will demand a hearing for habeas corpus, and the next thing you know, these people are going to have to be released into the general population. If I'm one of those terrorists and I'm released, I say, look, you're not sending me back. You brought me into the United States, and I want to stay here. But Barack Obama does not care about that. He cares about his campaign promise to close Gitmo.
Well, I hope that does not happen, but I think that's a very valid point that you're bringing up about that. Really quick, I did want to ask about something else that we were covering this morning. Another police officer was shot this week. A Colorado sheriff's deputy was killed by a man. He fired at police. He was being served with an eviction notice. We've had all these attacks on police really just in the last week. What is going on?
Well, it'd be nice to know, but there have been 10 law enforcement officers so far this year that have been shot and killed in the line of duty. We didn't have our first one in 2015 until March, so we're up 1,000%. I have not heard anything from the Attorney General's office on it. I have not heard anything from the White House on it. And, you know, it's pretty obvious to me that the war, which I said was declared on the American police officer 2 years ago, is still underway. It's a very dangerous situation for any law enforcement officer. Look, we don't get into this profession to die, but we will if we have to. But for heaven's sakes, I mean, to sit up there, the president will now turn around and probably try to enact some more gun control and blame the gun, when in fact, there's no respect for law enforcement anymore, where people used to...
Bingo. And there it is right there. And again, this goes back to 2016, where in 2020, we are talking about the lack of respect for police officers and the war that he said was declared in 2014.
And so that was before President Trump.
That's right.
I think it's very, very poignant that you brought this up. You're right. These are conversations that were going on before President Trump was president, before he was even, I mean, he wasn't, remember, this man's never been elected to any office before besides the presidency. So you look at it, and then how can everybody blame the president? And I love the comments. Gosh, there's so many comments. And
well, and again, I go back
this
to...
This is so great. So keep putting your comments on here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for being able to agree to disagree and have great discourse.
Cheryl Russell doesn't agree with the majority of what we're saying, but Cheryl, thank you for being part of the show today and being able to be civil in our comments. Yeah, I know. Sorry to be. Well, no, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal being able to be civil like that.
It is, and great commentary.
Yeah, I mean,
her commentary's not angry.
Well, and that's the thing.
She makes arguments.
I can talk with somebody when we're dealing with factual things, and I can talk with somebody when they're being respectful. So, shout out to Cheryl for that, and happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you. And this is why I bring up what I'm bringing up now with Sheriff Clark. The establishment is so upset with the fact that Donald J. Trump is going to dance to his own beat, that anybody that's been a part of the D.C. establishment wants to get back so badly, the established politician in that White House so they can go back to business as usual. You know, here's my thing.
That's truer words couldn't be spoken.
Yeah, I've never, ever understood how it is you go to work in Congress, you go to work in the Senate, you retire, you become a lobbyist at the federal level, you get involved in some bureaucratic part of the government, and you become super wealthy. How does that happen? How do you go from making $150,000, $160,000 a year to your net worth being $4 million, $5 million because you went to work for the government?
I don't get it because I never
got that memo.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I worked for the government.
Yeah,
I didn't get that memo.
I was going to say I worked for the government and I really didn't get that memo. So I don't understand it. And Ivanka Trump, who I just love her, would love to see her as a president one day. She was so poised and so well spoken, so articulate, so positive. And she said, my dad didn't let Washington change him. He changed Washington. And I'm paraphrasing her quote.
That's good enough. That's good enough.
And that's why the Nancy Pelosi's of the world are freaking out because her little days of a free grab here and free planes here and this, that, and the other, and all of these things. And you're right. These people are multimillionaires, JP.
Yes. I mean,
did the founding fathers, I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, they wanted people who were in elected office to earn a living, to be able to have livable wages. The intent was not to go to D.C. to become a multimillionaire.
Or back in the day, Philadelphia.
Exactly.
For our founding fathers. Yeah.
That's not what was intended.
In fact, our founding fathers did it for no money.
Yeah, I mean,
they were statesmen.
Bingo. Big difference between being a politician and a statesman. And it's interesting. There are still jobs. School board. You know, they don't make any money. There's still a number of jobs out there. City council like $1,000 a month.
Oh, do they get that now?
Plano, I think maybe $1,000.
Oh,
maybe somebody.
Well,
help
some
me
city
out with
councils
that.
still in Texas
It's
don't get
still
paid
free.
anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
so again, I just I don't know.
Well, and so I go back to Sheriff Clark as the example here. Sheriff Clark called this out in 2014, called it out in 2016. The war on law enforcement. That all started during Barack Obama's era. How about this? How about Barack Obama and Democrats going from, hey, we need to defund sanctuary cities to, we need to endorse sanctuary cities? The flip-flop in the midst of everything. And so, again, I go back to, this isn't new. This attack on law enforcement isn't new. There has been a cancer that's been building and growing to where now the regular American citizens that used to be law-abiding citizens, that were raised to be law-abiding citizens, are buying into this cancer and are not respecting law enforcement. And that's what Sheriff Clark came out and said today, this morning, I guess last night, in regards to the Blake shooting. It's like, if you watch the video, he's walking away from law enforcement. Law enforcement is giving him a directive, but because of organizations, not the movement, but organizations like BLM and Antifa, because of those type of organizations, he thinks that he has the power now because he's a black male. I don't have to listen to you anymore. I can walk away from you and go get in my car. No, law enforcement is still law enforcement. Law and order is still law and order.
And we haven't kicked that part out of the Constitution yet. I know the other side would like to. I mean, you know, we're talking about, you know, and it's interesting because we talk about boundaries, and Joe Biden spoke of, I want a country without borders. I want a country without any kind of boundaries, and that is a physical and a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a theory, like a philosophy they live by, because they truly, the other party has gone so far left. And let me tell you, that's why we've got Democrats coming left and right. I know, you know, I'm doing work in Victory up at headquarters. We've got people coming in who, they're like, I'm a Democrat. I don't know where to go, but I still love my country. So can I have a Trump sign? And is there anything I can do up here? Right. Because their party left them, because it's no longer the Democrat Party. It's the party of socialism, which that's just
far left socialism. Yeah, almost a Marxist socialism.
Very much Marxist. I mean, let's
Marxist
talk the Communist Manifesto here. Right. But it's one of those things. So you talk about they don't want borders or boundaries. They don't want it physically with the country. Everybody come on in. Nobody has to be held accountable. And they don't want it with law and order. Right. So then what do you have? You end up, if you get rid of those two things, then you have a third world country.
Yeah, that's where
you've got Venezuela.
That's where we're headed.
It becomes mob rule.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yes, I call it thug mob rule. That's what I call it.
Yeah, we need to add that thug. Somebody put that on. I think, did Fred put that on Facebook earlier today?
I think I saw the word thug, and it resonated with me.
Yes.
So here's Donald Trump's comments on Joe Biden. And we're going to go to this and let you watch a few minutes of this. But this is, I mean, tell me how that we don't listen and pay attention and can contrast the two. Charles, are we ready? Hopefully I skipped the ad, I think. Oh,
we're ready.
Hold on, I took the sound off. I
kept my promise.
Here we go.
Recent months, our nation and the world has been hit by the once-in-a-century pandemic that China allowed to spread around the globe. They could have stopped it, but they allowed it to come out. In a new term as president, we will again build the greatest economy in history, quickly returning to full employment, soaring incomes, and record prosperity. My fellow Americans, tonight, with a heart full of gratitude and boundless optimism, I profoundly accept this nomination for President of the United States. Joe Biden may claim he is an ally of the light, but when it comes to his agenda, Biden wants to keep us completely in the dark. For 47 years, Joe Biden took the donations of blue-collar workers, gave them hugs and even kisses.
That was so funny.
And he knew it was going to be a good one.
Biden is weak. He takes his marching orders from liberal hypocrites who drive their cities into the ground while fleeing far from the scene of the wreckage. The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired, expelled, shamed, humiliated, and driven from society as we know it. The far left wants to coerce you into saying what you know to be false and scare you out of saying what you know to be true. Americans build their future. We don't tear down our past.
And that's
Biden
where,
is a Trojan
that's where I want to
horse
leave
for
that with. Chuck, I mean, how amazing is that? I mean, what a great statement that is. And we do. We build. We don't tear down. And that's not what the Democratic Party is all about. The Democratic Party is all about tearing
and you can't
down.
lead. And you can't lead. If you're a leader, when you look at like the definition of a leader, one of the things is building, and building in all different types of ways. And so if you're not building, if you're not constructing, if you're not mentoring, if you're not lifting up the next generation, then how can you truly be a leader? I guess that'd be my question to the crew.
Yeah.
How can you lead? And then one of the lines last night was, and I can't remember who said, somebody said that if you're so busy, if you're so busy being angry at America and saying America's a bad country, how can you lift that country up? How I don't get it. I mean, somebody help me with that.
Well, and I'm going to make everybody real mad probably, but as I'm getting ready, Rutro's right. I'm getting ready to transition into "I Have a Dream" by Martin Luther King Jr. And if Martin Luther King Jr. was alive today, he would not be a Democrat.
Oh,
because he's a man full of hope, love, and God.
A Christian,
and Democrats are
Christian
taking
above
God out of
all.
everything.
Yeah, he is Martin Luther King. Anything you study about him, and I don't care who you are studying on Martin Luther King. First of all, the man was an amazing leader because he was all about building and empowering. But he put God first in everything. Right. They had their Bibles with them when they were marching. They were singing church hymns.
That's right.
You were in your Sunday best. It's nothing like the
Could you imagine AOC and Elon Omar walking with Martin Luther King with their Bibles in their hands?
Oh, how dare you. Yeah, you are making people mad. How dare you put that image out there? Take it back. Take it back.
Now, that's funny.
God.
Okay, you made me laugh. That's funny.
God.
All right. And the crowd, too.
Yes, our studio
crowd
audience.
laughed. Yeah, they laughed, too. Good for you. Good job. Good job, guys. Thanks, guys. We love you guys. So, all right, Chuck, let's go to I Have a Dream. 60 years, and this speech still resonates the truth today. All right, here we go.
To Martin Luther King, Jr. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
Now, I'm going to pause him for a minute. This is the same man that Democrats now want to tear down the Lincoln statues want to tear down the Emancipation Proclamation. And here we have, in the midst of the civil rights movement, one of the largest civil rights personalities
ever
in our country's history.
Possibly will be the biggest,
influencer,
leader,
impactor, all of that stuff.
of the civil rights movement.
What's he say? He holds one of the most famous speeches in front of the Lincoln Memorial and talks about the Emancipation Proclamation. Help me out here. Where have we gone wrong? How can you be a Democrat, watch this, and go, oh, yeah, I'm still a Democrat?
Okay, that's the assumption you made, because, JP, when you're not sure about something, when you're trying to study something so you can speak intelligently to it, what do? Research.
Right.
Would you go out before you went out and made a speech somewhere? Would you make sure you did your homework, check your facts? Yeah. Okay, that's the problem. These kids get on social media, they get angry immediately, but they don't go and check history.
Yeah, I mean, it blows me away. I mean, Antifa, BLM.
They need to see. I hope they watch this speech today.
What was Martin Luther King Jr.?
I hope.
I mean, he did believe Black lives matter, and all Christian lives matter, and all lives mattered. All right, here we go.
Positive person experience.
Yeah, he's my positive.
He's our PPE today. We love you. Rest in peace, Martin Luther King.
All right, here we go. Back to MLK.
This momentous decree came.
Momentous decree.
As a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves.
That's not possible, Kathy.
Who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Stopping it there. Yeah, I mean, Martin Luther King Jr., who has been through it at that point, he has begun the movement. Now, he wasn't the founder of the movement. The movement started long before he did. But he has picked it up, carried it,
he is the face, right? I mean, and all of those people are there because, again, this is a person who loved his God, loved his country, and loved his fellow man.
Bottom line is that we hold all these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. He talks about, and I'm sure that by using the word Negro, I'm surprised that they've not tried to eradicate Martin Luther King for marginalizing black men and women.
Don't give anybody any ideas. I mean, this is, again,
and take down his statues.
This is history. And again, you can't change history, and sometimes you have to learn from history.
See, and Cheryl says, Dr. MLK Jr. purported democratic socialism of the 50s and 60s, not of 2020.
Yeah, I can't imagine Dr. Martin Luther King. And again, Cheryl, thank you so much for being so civil and so respectful on this feed.
And intelligent.
And yeah, and she's putting quotes. She's doing her research.
Right.
I would like to know, would Martin Luther King have been in agreement with the AOCs of the world today?
I just don't think he was really promoting socialism. It was social justice, which is different. And I think
but then social justice back in the 50s and 60s was different than social justice. Now social justice is go out and burn a bust of
Cheryl. He was not a Marxist. Now back in the day, that was the way they came after him, Cheryl. Absolutely. But today he's not, and I mean, especially compared.
Well, we've talked about this before. JFK, would he have been a Democrat today?
He'd been a Republican.
I mean, there's
at least moderate Republican.
Well, and again, then I go to my friends who are Democrats, and I'm like, where do y'all fit in? How do you?
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't fit in. The party's been hijacked by AOC and her squad. And I don't recognize my party anymore. And so I feel bad for the people who feel like they don't have a place to go.
Well, and there are pieces, don't get me wrong here, there are pieces of the conservative side that I don't belong to.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm going, that's not me.
Well, and hey, guess what? That's the great thing. We don't all have to agree.
Right.
People are like, do you agree 110% with everything in the Republican platform?
No.
No. There are things I've argued against or I've argued for that haven't been put in or that have been put in that I didn't like. Okay, but again, do you believe in, first of all, or, do you believe in limited government and local control? And do you believe that it's okay to be a patriot, to love your country?
Right.
I feel like if I were part of the Democrats right now, I wouldn't be allowed to show my love of country, and I can't imagine not being able to display my love of country every day.
And Cheryl, she's punctuated what I was talking about. She says that MLK's espousing of democratic socialism was based on the teaching of the Bible. And again, I agree.
Well, so again, I go back to Dr. Martin Luther King and what he, look at how many people are there. Everybody, again, dressed up in a respectful manner because of where they are, the reverence of where they are. People holding Bibles, people holding American flags, and people cheering for a positive message.
Right.
The thing about Rand Paul just came out. He said he calls for FBI arrests, investigation into mob, quote, he believes would have killed us if it were not for the police.
I believe it wholeheartedly. So, and I do believe that. But let's get back to, I want to do a little bit more of MLK's speech in honor of I Have a Dream from 60 years ago. Here we go.
That one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
And I think, right there is where we'll end that. Again, I go back to, he is espousing brotherhood, coming together, being Christian-like, if nothing else. And, I mean, it's, first of all, that is a speech that should never be forgotten, should be taught in every school. It not only teaches tolerance, but it teaches the fact that we need to come together as a people. Democrats are not espousing that. Democrats are dividing us. It started with Barack Obama. Listen to Sheriff Clark, for goodness sakes. That war was declared during the presidency of Barack Obama. I've got moms that came into my court, black moms, that said, Obamacare didn't help me. I've got 4 kids. I make $33,000 a year.
I mean, you knew somebody personally who was having to pay like $1,300. $1,600. And how much did she make a year?
$33,000 a year.
How you can't do the math on it? You can't afford it.
You can't afford it. All right, I'll tell you what we can't afford. We can't afford to not make the State Fair of Texas.
Amen.
And so, Chuck, if you'll go to that graphic for me, there he is, Big Tex.
Love it,
Welcome
love it, and
to
love
the
it.
State Fair of Texas.
I was so
Today,
happy to
in
come
the
across.
dog barn, there'll be frisbee golf.
And, hey, I love those frisbee dogs and those water jumping dogs. I love it all, especially the Fletcher's Corny dogs. I was so happy to come across this, JP, because Texas is not Texas without the State Fair of Texas.
Yeah.
And Big Tex,
So 50,000 cars will be allowed to go through. It's going to be a food fair is what it's going to be.
Bring it on.
Or fair food. I'm sorry, fair food.
Bring it
here
on.
You go. You can see the article. The 2020 State Fair of Texas may be canceled, but they will allow fairgoers to enjoy the food and get a picture with Big Tex and do the Big Tex Fair food drive-through. Up to 50,000 vehicles will be allowed to drive through Fair Park and pick up fair food, including a Fletcher's Corny Dog. Followed by a stop at Big Tex for a photo op as an icon of the Lone Star State and a true Texan. Big Tex will do his part to keep the community safe by wearing a Big Tex-sized face mask. Tickets are limited and will be pre-sold.
But of course.
Now, listen to this, though, very carefully. Tickets are limited. So they're selling tickets and will be pre-sold in 3 entry windows. Entry between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., 1 and 5, and 5 and 5:45.
Okay.
So you probably want to go to the State Fair of Texas's website to gain any kind of information or knowledge in regards to what may be happening. So, and I want to share another one of Cheryl Russell. Again, highly educated, really good, putting out good information. But JP, Dan Coates is not in office anymore, so he's not trying to gain anything. He was a senator from Indiana and Trump's director of intelligence. Said he was worried about the administration's effect on the intelligence community. There's definitely a theme coming from these former military and intelligence leaders now supporting Trump. We should not ignore that. These are patriots who've been concerned with protecting our country. You know, Cheryl, my response to that is 3 or 4-fold. One, when these guys leave, and this is where you've got to start doing the real digging. You got to follow the money. First of all, I would go back and have you look at where Dan Coates has been donating his money. It's funny how you will find a lot of Republicans donating money to a lot of Democratic candidates. Even when they're running for office.
Yes.
And so that's very interesting. You got to kind of watch out, especially if they were in business to begin with.
And OpenSecrets.org is a fantastic way to search who's donated money to who.
And I think also follow the money, right? Isn't it followthemoney.com or something like that?
I'm a big Open Secrets, and yeah, definitely.
So you definitely want to follow the money. So here's the other thing: when everybody leaves office, what's wrong?
Oh. Do I hear Howdy Folks' Big Tex in my headset?
Oh, is he saying Howdy Folks?
I was going to say, wait, is Big Tex here?
No. No, I think you're just.
I just heard it in my headset.
I didn't hear
it. I was testing something.
It
did not go live.
I thought Big Tex was here.
You're so funny. Welcome. You're so funny. So,
I'm excited.
But Cheryl, the big thing is follow the money. And that's with everybody, Republicans and Democrats.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Number one. Number two, these guys are setting themselves up to write books. And what sells right now? Right now, what's the hot commodity is let's hate Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Because keep in mind, Cheryl, as well, I have not always been a huge fan of Donald J. Trump, and Kathy knows this.
Because this is one of those things we disagree on. I love him 110%. Yeah.
And Kathy and I have had this conversation. She's like, hey, if he wanted to come have dinner with me at my house, I would let him. Me, he's not somebody I'd socialize with.
Oh, gosh, I would.
Not somebody I'd socialize with. Now, he's done a lot of great things. He has said a lot of stupid things, but done a lot of great things.
I think he will go down. Yeah, and I think he will go down as one of the most incredible, successful American presidents. And hey, JP, I want and not to change the subject, but I want to talk about this more on Monday because I know we're getting ready to sign off. Yeah. At a Kroger in Prosper on 380.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Just in case there's anybody who has a teenage daughter, a young, adult age daughter.
Let's go ahead and talk about this. This is noteworthy now, and we'll expand more later, but let's talk about this.
And I'm still trying to vet the entire story, but both of my kids on their social media feeds and their cousin and kind of all over those age group, high school and young adult, got this warning, and this is a young lady who, and sex trafficking is everywhere. So this happened in Prosper, y'all. So if you think we're in a bubble here in Collin County, we are not. Sex trafficking is real. We need to have Alicia Bush back on from Treasured Vessels, and we need to have her back on. It's happening. They are coming for our young girls. This young lady was in a parking lot, and an older woman approaches her and appeared to be confused and disoriented.
Wow.
And she said...
I mean, you're hearing this, right? An older woman being...
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
So, and we're raised, hey, help out somebody who's older. And she said, oh, honey, can you help me? I can't find my car. I'm really having trouble. Will you come with me and help me? And of course, the young lady was like, sure. And she gets closer because she had asked the lady, what is your car? Well, it's a white car and it's a bigger car. And I don't remember where I parked. And will you please stay with me because I'm scared? And she did. And as she got closer to the car, she noticed there were 3 men in this car. and one of them was kind of peeking out, or was out, or she could see a view, and she saw that he had a white cloth in his hand. So all of a sudden, ding, 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 bells start going off, warning bells, and the young lady starts trying to walk away, and all of a sudden this older, confused, disoriented woman started getting more assertive. No, I need you to stay with me. I need you to stay with me. So she was able to get away, but most likely she avoided being kidnapped.
Oh, human trafficked.
Yes.
Did they get any of that on video? Do you know?
I don't know. There's a picture I'll show you, and I didn't want to, because I don't have permission. I don't know how old this girl. I think she's, from what the kids are saying, they think she went to school here locally in the Collin County area, and that she is over 18. I didn't want to put her picture.
Well, now is it
up unless I had permission?
Is it in the public domain or no? How did you get the picture?
From my kids.
Oh, okay.
From my kids and from their cousin, and so it was off their social media. I felt, but I'm like, what I'm looking at right now, it says warning, and this is a picture the girl took of herself at the grocery store parking lot after this happened, and she describes what happened. She said she ran back inside and she went to tell a manager, and she's sitting here saying, "I'm out of breath. I'm in tears." She said, "Don't fall for the trick that most sex traffickers are pulling. Don't, don't fall for this and stay alive."
Well, I want to reach out to Prosper PD and that Kroger.
Yeah, I would like to hear more. I would like to. And again, here's the thing: this kind of stuff is happening. I didn't get to vet it, other than the fact that it was on, 3 young family members' social media, and so
I would love for the kids to connect us to her.
Okay.
If she's willing to do a warning like that, I'm willing to put it out.
Oh, absolutely. Please, please, please be careful, because these people and guys, girls, they're tricky, and they're very aggressive in the way, because usually, and we've reported on this before, that they go while you're in school. They get you to come over, hey, you're going to be at a basketball game. I know your parents are jerks. Hey, at halftime, meet me out in the parking lot. I'm going to give you $50, or I'm going to give you a Starbucks gift card or something like that. Just because, you know what? I feel bad for you, because they've friended them some way on social media, and so they connect and they figure out which school you go to. Well, now with the majority of the schools being remote, I would imagine they're having to get more creative in the way they go after these young kids. So
goodness gracious, yes.
Just
no doubt.
Be careful, tell your kids about it, and just stay safe. Just stay safe. Because you never know. You never know.
One of the things that we're going to talk about on Monday, and I want to wait and see what the rest of the professional sports world is going to do. Because I've held off.
We didn't even get to talk about this today.
You know what? We were doing, I think we did a really nice RNC wrap-up. I think we had good commentary from different speakers.
I think you led a very good conversation,
well,
sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
So I think, and I want to play Sandman's speech, I think, next week, just a little bit. But the Milwaukee Bucks and their walk-off, and now the impact and the ripple that's had across professional sports. Kathy and I haven't completely discussed this yet. We've kicked the bucket around a little bit, but I think that we are going to abandon any kind of fantasy football, or
we're gonna have some big fat fun though.
But we've got a plan.
Yeah.
And I think I'm putting together my own 32-team league. Kathy and I are, and we're going to have our own. Let's see. I'm going to call it the TFL. The Thumb Football League.
Yeah, what is it like? You would kind of fold a football thing like you would a note.
Right.
And then you would take it and you flick it. Of course, everybody's like, "Oh, I want to play against her because she just flicked it all of 2 inches."
We call it the FFL, Flicker Football League. And I think we're going to do that. And
that may be kind of fun.
I'm going to put up like a $500 prize at the end.
What?
Yeah. So be thinking.
So, Joni, there's fantasy football is going to have a different twist this year.
Yeah, I think that. And so get ready to name your team. Get ready to build and make your own paper football thingy majigger. And I think we're going to create our own league. Do our own fantasy sport.
And we're going to explain more about that next week. And we would love to hear from you, the crew, who is following professional sports any longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's craziness.
Crazy
craziness. Well, all right, it's time to send you off. We're a little bit late, but that's okay because we're in control. And we love it. We're JP, Kathy, and the crew on the JP, Kathy, and the Crew Network. Don't forget to stay tuned because you never know what we're going to play. On Thursdays from noon to 1, The Lawyer Show. We owe an apology to Jeremy Rosenthal for not getting his show out yesterday. We had some severe corruption of the video file.
That's crazy.
Well, you know what? Some hiccups of getting our own thing kicked off the ground.
That's why it's only $250.
China. It was China. TikTok. China.
It was China.
China.
That's why we're only doing $250 for the first 3 months while we're getting started. And,
that's right.
And we're also looking for sponsorships.
Well, sponsorships.
At a
that's
great
right.
level, too.
That's right. So give us a call. Join us here at JP, Kathy, and the Crew, the JP, Kathy, and the Crew Network. Have a blessed day, everybody, and a blessed weekend.
Have a blessed weekend. See you Monday.
See you Monday.